Hi, everyone. One of the factors that tends to drive excessive worry and generalized anxiety disorder, and worry more generally, are beliefs about the usefulness of worry. Essentially, the reason I worry so much is because I have some underlying assumptions about worry that tell me the worry is serving some useful purpose. And so that's why I should continue worrying. Now, I've done some videos talking about some of the common worry beliefs, including the perception that worry helps with problem solving, that worry can help motivate a person to get things done, and that worry can protect a person from future negative emotions by preparing them emotionally in case something bad were to happen. And if you can relate to any of those beliefs, I'd encourage you to check out those videos. And in today's video, we're going to talk about another really common belief about the usefulness of worry. And this worry belief relates to the idea that worrying in and of itself can prevent negative outcomes. In other words, the act of worrying can have an effect on events, and that worry has the power over the occurrence or non-occurrence of positive or negative events. So one example of this is the notion that I've always worried about my child being involved in a serious car accident. It's never happened, and so my worrying must be working, and I have to keep it up. This worry belief has a bit of a magical thinking or superstitious flavor to it. In essence, the idea is our thoughts can have an influence over what happens in the universe and in the world around us. Now, often when I'm talking about this worry belief with some of my clients, they initially say that they would never believe something like that it doesn't make a lot of sense to them, and that they don't think that this relates to them. But then we get into discussions about ideas about some pretty common pop psychology topics. Things like, if you put good energy out into the universe, it will come back to you. If you think and really focus on your goals and what you want, the intention behind that will make it happen. One of the most popular examples of this is the book The Secret, which suggests that you can manifest your dreams by the way you think and that the energy you put out into the world. But even if you don't go so far as to believe that, most people have some superstitious beliefs. Things like wearing your lucky socks when you're going out on a first date, or things like announcers at sporting events not talking about a baseball pitcher who has a no-hitter going, or a hockey goaltender who has a shutout going, because they fear that if they mention it, it will jinx the no-hitter or the shutout. So these types of superstitious beliefs are pretty common for a lot of people, and so it's not a stretch to think that for people who worry a lot, they could perceive that their worry and the act of worry may influence what's going on around them. If I'm not worrying about that presentation that I'm going to be giving next week, it's almost like I'm getting too cocky or overly confident, and that the universe is going to give me a smack across the head because I'm not worrying enough. So you see, if you hold this belief that worry in and of itself can prevent bad things from happening, just by the act of worrying, or if you believe that if you don't worry about something bad happening, then the bad thing is more likely to happen, then this presents a compelling argument and a compelling reason to continue worrying. And this can be one of the factors that maintains excessive worry. So if you notice that you recognize a bit of this superstitious belief about the usefulness of worry, what can you do about it? How can you challenge this worry belief? Now, one of the things that people often say when I talk about challenging this worry belief is that they just need to tell themselves that this worry belief is stupid or silly and that it's not true. Unfortunately, just trying to brush aside this worry belief as silly superstition typically isn't enough to fully challenge the worry belief. And in part, this is because for people who hold this worry belief, they've probably subconsciously told themselves thousands of times that worry is protecting them, that worry is preventing bad things from happening. And so they've heard that message over and over and over again. So just trying to dismiss it away doesn't necessarily feel true, even though you know logically that it is true. So better than just trying to dismiss it away, what you want to do is to collect some evidence to explain why this worry belief is not true. And so therefore, you're not just dismissing the worry belief with your feelings, but you're challenging the worry belief with data and evidence. So these are some of the questions you can ask yourself to help challenge this idea that worry in and of itself can prevent negative outcomes. Has anything bad ever happened even though you worried about it? If you can identify any times that you worried about a negative event occurring and that negative event actually occurred, this is evidence that worry doesn't prevent bad things from happening. I worried about going into that job interview and not getting the job, and that's what ended up happening. If worry could have prevented the bad thing from happening, then I should have gotten the job. Another question to ask is, are there other factors that are better predictors of your performance in a situation than whether you worried or not? So for example, how much time did you spend preparing for your job interview? How many job interviews have you had? How much experience have you had performing well in job interviews? How well did you match the qualifications of the person that they were looking for in the job that you were applying for? Think about what are some of the other factors independent of my worry that can account to explain whether or not something bad happened or something good happened. You may also want to ask yourself, how much time exactly do you need to worry about something to guarantee the positive outcome? If you worry about it for 5 minutes, is that enough to guarantee that the bad thing won't happen? Do you have to worry about it consistently in order to prevent the bad thing from happening? This question is getting at the logic and the mechanism behind this notion that worry prevents bad things from happening by requiring you to think about what exactly the worry is doing and how much of it you need to get the outcome that you want. And finally, one thing I really like to do with my clients to challenge this worry belief is to do a behavioral experiment. And this is the behavioral experiment I often run with my clients. I instruct my client to go out and buy a lottery ticket. And once they've bought the lottery ticket, I tell them to spend 20 minutes every day worrying as hard as they can, putting as much effort as they can into worrying that they've just wasted $2 buying this lottery ticket. Now, if worry prevented bad things from happening, what should happen in this scenario? Well, if worry prevented bad things from happening, what that means is that the client should win the lottery because their worry prevented them from having wasted $2 on this lottery ticket. And in all the years I've been getting clients to do this behavioral experiment, not one time has someone come back to me the next week and said, I won the lottery. And although it can seem like a pretty obvious outcome and a pretty silly example, actually getting a person to do a behavioral experiment like this really helps hammer home the idea that worry in and of itself cannot prevent bad things or negative outcomes from occurring. So one of the take-home messages of all of this is that it's important to recognize that your thoughts do not have an effect and do not impact the world around you independent of your behavior. It's not your thoughts that are preventing bad things from happening. It's how your thoughts get you to change your behavior. And it's the way your behavior interacts with the world that changes and influences the world. And although this may seem like an obvious concept, I think it does highlight the fact that we all tend to have superstitions, and that if our superstitions are contributing to things like excessive worry and anxiety, it's important to challenge the validity and the basis of those superstitions. And if you want to learn more effective ways of changing your behavior and accomplishing things rather than just being trapped in your head and in your thoughts, I'd encourage you to check out this video. So that's all for today's video. As always, thank you for watching all the way to the end of this video, and I will see you in the next one.